Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
And we are live and semi-connected, waiting for Wes to come back. Welcome, of course, to Rhomas, checking the YouTube stream. We have an excellent connection. Wes, what's up, bro?
What's up, dude?
You jumped away from this. Something glitched on the screen, but now you're back, and that's always cool. Nice when it just works out by itself. Dude, how are you, man?
Dude, fucking, I told you, man, looking at your baby face now, fucking fresh off the goat and everything, man.
Babyface Nelson, dude. That's what my dad's friend would call me. My cousin Bob was pretty. Man. My cousin Bob's Pretty Boy Floyd, and I'm Babyface Nelson.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
So I'm sorry, I'm coming to you guys via mobile phone version app on the Crowdcast today. So if that creates any glitches, let me know. But yeah, my internet's being not friendly today, so I've got to do it mobile style.
Hate that, man. I hate how the internet just fucking leaves us. It's like the Holy Spirit just goes away. You're like, ah.
It's like the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, man. Dude? It was good. It was honestly, I'm actually pretty pumped. I wanted to show everybody. I spent this time in the weekend, so I was given a critical choice because I had done. Well, it's funny. I actually got so much done this week. I was just banging stuff out. Looks like Matt's 9-year-old nephew. So I did so much stuff done last week, and then like there was so much other stuff that came up within the household that had to be addressed. So like obviously time was sacrificed from work, but I still got all my stuff done. So Brittany was like, "Well, I want to give you this weekend to like get some work done because I know you did a lot of stuff for me this week." And really, I was like, "Oh, I got it all done." Despite that. So long story short, I spent time that I could have just been working and really did the stuff to like set up my little downstairs office in a way. I've been talking about doing this for a month now, dude. That's my inspiration board. Obviously, I'll put my vision board and all that stuff on there, my daily goals. I got the whiteboard set up, so I'm pretty stoked on that. You see that over there. So it was just I had to drill into concrete. And I always just avoid it. I'm like, I don't feel like having to do this, and banged it all out. So this weekend I spent time just reorganizing my physical space, which I'm trying to, give. I mean, I won't give it as much attention as I do, obviously, to the things I do. But I've been trying to this actually gets us right into what I want to talk about. Sorry, how was your week, dude? I don't mean to be all autistic.
No, dude, please, man, do it. Let's have it, dude.
So I'll get into this, and I'll be curious to see how your weekend got. But this is something I picked up over the weekend, and it comes from my research into logotherapy. Is this idea of value system? Well, it's like do you have a value system? If you split people in half, two groups, either you have value systems and a definite aim, or you don't. So it's like you have that, but then say you take the group of people who have like a definite aim, and then it's like, are your values or your aim, is it pyramidal where it's like just there's one thing on the top that gets all of your attention, or is it kind of more parallel where you have you obviously have drives here and there, but it's more balanced and layered under if one thing crumbled, would you fall apart, or are you kind of personally scaffolded in your values where you find importance across like an array of different areas? So that was pretty much my focus this weekend, was really trying to spread myself out and just start to enjoy and kind of finding the importance in other stuff that wasn't strictly like work related stuff. Cause I definitely have that spaz work brain where it's like, so I just took the time, reorganized my basement. I've been really trying to find value in that. And dude, there's tremendous value I'm finding in just setting setting my space up and reorganizing it. So it's not like a total mess.
Oh, dude. Well, in terms of the environmental space and being intentional about it. That was one of the biggest ahas I've had in probably the last 5 years. And that came as a result of reading the book. What was it called? Robert Cialdini's book, his second book, Not Influence. It was called Persuasion. He really went deep in saying that, the majority of our action is not action. It's actually reaction, specifically reaction to, environmental stimulus. So I think that's spot on. And then in terms of having the values and everything, I'm sorry, Matt, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. I was just filling up my water.
Yeah. In terms of the values, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So instead of having a pyramid, you're saying, if I had to visualize it, you're saying to have pillars, or what does that look like? I want to make sure I get that.
Well, they were saying they call it like a parallel value system, but I think pillars is a great, I think pillars is a good visual to have your, let's say your values in terms of like the stuff that you find worth living for, or like very energizing to try. I mean, again, it's like if the pyramidal one works for you, obviously that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what they say is sometimes that kind of like hyper focus on that one thing can be beneficial in some areas, but then you just kind of like it eclipses all of the other areas of your life that, people kind of need to have present otherwise. And again, all of this stuff, it all depends on what works for the person. There are some people who are just like, I'm on one thing and I'm going to ride this thing out till it goes. And that's fine if it works. But they were saying through like the people they'd studied, they found that was like preferable to having absolutely no aim or whatever. It's like, it's preferable, but if you can take that then and then kind of expand that into a bunch of different areas, it just helps with people's like overall well-being.
Yeah, no, I think that makes complete sense. Funny enough, and this is again the Megamind thing going on.
Yes, dude.
Over the weekend, I took a little break, and I want to put it out there to the guys, like almost as best as you can, making it mandatory in your life to get your shit done during the week, right? Get your scorecard done, get your work week done, all of those things, and obviously take breaks at night, etc. But really being able to be there for your family and your friends and whatever your social network is, like your social group is, sort of untainted and completely focused on them. And I was able to do that a tiny bit this weekend. And it's just like, wow, it felt good. It wasn't diluted with being on my phone or like having this outstanding project. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to go and hang out real quick. And then I got to jump back in the office 2 hours later. Mm-hmm. Like, even though I preach that, or my coach preaches that so much, like you can only score a certain amount of points within the given time horizon. I'm very bad at it.
Yeah.
But when I get those days and I force myself to have more of a pillar type of thing rather than the pyramid type of setup in my head, man, it allows me to replenish, my brain and I guess my nervous system and get back in action on Monday where I actually feel like I'm ready to play the game again.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm telling you, I'm learning that big time. And even like, and again, I don't know if this applies for everybody, but I definitely, if I were to look up the symptoms and be like, oh my God, I'm a workaholic, I'd be like, yes, I am. So, I do have that kind of like constant drive of like, I need to do stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been nice too, to like really, when I'm on the off period, first of all, to like, I don't know if I'm done unless I do the kind of weekly kind of goal setting thing and, weekly, like what I need to get done. I kind of showed us last Friday, the thing I do where it's just like my daily journal. I go on my Word doc, and every Monday I say like, I call it the menu of like the things that I need to take care of this week. If I were to take care of these things, I'd have a happy week. I come up with what that would be, write it down, and I start just like, boom, start just do it. If there's some of them are simple as just calling people, I just right away start calling people, getting stuff done. But I think underneath all of that, I think the thing that, I think we're kind of talking about is it's like there's the to-do list. And then there's the, let's say, like the structure should be a thing that's the to-do list should be a thing that's nestled within like a larger system of, the way you're even approaching that. And the thing I really like is what I saw on the Academy of Ideas. I subscribe to their Patreon, and they had a thing called the Slave and the Sage. And, they talk about all kinds of stuff. Like it's a lot of it's based in stoicism with like, how do you react, kind of what you were saying with the persuasion thing to like the externals, but they were saying more like the externals are the things in your life you don't have control over, and how like we typically are more reacting to them than really kind of doing what we're doing. But they have this thing where it's like everybody should and they call it practicing philosophy, and you can call it mindfulness, whatever you want to do, but it's like you kind of, in my opinion, at least I should say, it really helps to be rooted in let's call it the practice of philosophy, whether that's kind of like just doing the scoreboard, whether that's meditating, whether that's actually visualizing and premeditating the things you want to do that week. It's like you can either premeditate and plan and like spend some time to yourself and whatever that is, resting, meditating, or like I used to do, wake up and spaz out, run down to the computer and just do a bunch of unorganized, concerted efforts into a bunch of places that kind of aren't going anywhere at the end of the day. And it's like, dude, I'm telling you, man, that whole practice, I like how they say practicing philosophy, like spend the first moments of your day checking in with yourself and getting yourself straight before you just dive into like more work and, that anxious kind of energy. So that's kind of the, that was the thing I took away from. That was my like research this weekend on top of the other stuff that I was really liking.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if this is counter to what you're saying, and it's not meant to be. So I hope it comes off correctly. But one of the things that we've been harping on in the daily scorecard practice team is being practitioners first and philosophers second.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only because of my disdain for self-identified gurus who haven't done anything. Like the only thing that they've done is try to go and teach other people, right? Like sort of thing. Versus like the kind of, Matt, what you're saying, like having a plan and then doing the plan. And then once you've executed, then you've earned the right to talk about it. Or even just like, even the talking, it's like, hey, I'm currently going through this journey. But under no circumstances, in my opinion, should there be philosophizing about something that you think people should do that you yourself are not fucking doing, And I know, Matt, I don't think that's counter to what you're saying.
No. I think
it triggered me to think of that.
No, absolutely. And I think I think it is kind of, if anything, brings up kind of like the balance or the idea that kind of like, and when they say practicing philosophy, that was like and I think at least that was their way of saying like, don't just mindlessly jump into your day because you're typically chasing all of these external things that are outside of your control. Rather, before you do that, take time to focus yourself on like, are these the kinds of things that are inside your control? What actually is inside your control? And really, and it kind of links with logotherapy. It's like the biggest thing you have is your ability to make choices. So it's like, being cognizant. When they say like practicing philosophy, they're just saying be cognizant, spend some time being cognizant of the choices you're about to make before you kind of get on with your day. Because a lot of the stoicism stuff echoes exactly what you're saying. It's like totally pointless to sit here and think about all this stuff all day. Like if you're not doing stuff, then your philosophies are absolutely worthless. So it's like I totally agree, man. And it's like you can fall into I've fallen into both sides where it's like I can sit and just be in my head and be like, well, maybe this, maybe that, not really do anything. And I've also been like, all right, time for work, and I'll just like do a spazzy effort to like do a bunch of stuff that like kind of falls apart. But it's like if you can really figure out how to combine those two, for me personally, that's helped big time.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And one of the things I want to again give a shout out to the guys who are showing up to the scorecard practice team every day, but just as we're kind of while we're on the topic, that team is the intention is reserved for the people who are on our Patreon account. But I want to remind everybody, if you can't afford it, like I'd so much rather you show up to our daily practice session. Like if you honestly can't afford it, that's fine. Like this group is all about helping each other make progress. So I just so highly recommend it. And don't take my word for it. Talk to Ray, talk to Austin, talk to now John Weber's on it, talk to Brent, talk to Jordan, like anybody who showed up and tried it, only because the reason I'm saying it is if anybody's stuck, because I'm kind of seeing some of the comments, if anybody's stuck, like action is what gets you out of stuckness. That is what happens. Like getting inside of your own fucking head and playing it on loop. Dude, it's like that's what will keep you stuck, at least from my experience, man. So to answer, somebody asked how much is the lowest on Patreon. I think it's like $5 a month is the lowest on Patreon. But again, like if you're in a spot and you cannot afford it, this is not about that. Like, just hop on. We have a what is that called? Like an honor system. If you can afford it, great. If you can't afford it, like I so much rather you guys show up and get shit done, and then eventually you'll be able to afford it. Like this team is to help all of us grow. But anyway, it's like if you're stuck in any sort of area, like in one area or all areas, take action. And oftentimes, if you've been finding that you can't take action, I have found, Matt, and let me know your thoughts on this, doing it with a team helps you get out of that. Like, so you can't say to yourself, like, we have one guy, I'll protect his identity, but he's like, man, I've been trying this stuff. And he's like, finally, when I joined the team, he's like, I've done more in the last week than I have in the entire year. And that's only because humans were social, and especially as men, like we need other men to go to battle with. And like, that's what this team is for. That's what the daily scorecard team is for. So just like show up, just give it a shot. Like, don't be shy. And I think you'll find if you give it enough days and talk to anybody who's on it, do it. And I think it'll get you out of that negative side of inertia.
Dude, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's like, it's not even a matter of like, because you and then this is just the thinking mind. You can start saying like, well, I mean, here's the time. There are times when thinking, so it's like, yeah, obviously. However, it's like, just simply, you can sit and think into oblivion because, you just think and think and think and think and think. But when you do, you get actual results that you're either good or bad. I'm not saying it always works out, but you go, oh, okay. Like, I saw that play out to the end. There was a finite reaction or ending to that I can now readjust my thoughts or my behavior, rather than just like sitting and thinking and just, you really have to make sure your thoughts are tethered in some sort of action plan. That was the biggest thing for ACT. It's like the whole point of that. There's 5 steps to get you to learn how to align your behavior with like your deeper value. That was the whole point. Like, if you don't do the things, totally, it's almost worthless and irrelevant. I mean, it really is. And if you want to get on some like, well, I'm a self-contained vessel. Okay, cool. That's fine. But for 99.999% of people, we have to be doing things in order to feel good. And again, having come from doing both things, it wasn't until I structured my day around tasks and actions that I started feeling like less anxiety. You just need less thoughts, which is I'm learning is a good thing.
Oh yeah, man. Well, and eventually, like, if you keep on having the thoughts and they are backed by repetitive non-action, all of a sudden your brain starts to see this. Like, one of the guys in our daily group was saying, like, that he's reading all the books, he's doing all this stuff, but then as each week goes by, he's then reminded of himself that he's not doing the stuff that he's reading. So it's this perpetual, like, mounting momentum that's just digging him more and more of a hole. And then he thinks the answer is the next book or the next abstract like thought. It's like, no, man, like, you need to start teaching yourself who you are. And in my opinion, the prerequisite of doing that is actually putting in some of the work. But sometimes we just get into a state of, I think in psychology, they call it learned helplessness, where it's like, you need other dudes around you to say, like, stop fucking thinking, or, better way, keep on fucking thinking. But in the meantime, let's do push-ups together. Just like Ray does all the time, saying, I'll drop and give you 25. Like, that shit's awesome. Action 9.99 times out of 10 is what will get us out of that funk. At least that's what I have found.
Dude, big time. I mean, it's also like, especially if you want to take it to the place of like, I'm always anxious, I'm always depressed, and typically people try to instinctively think their way out of those things. And it's like, well, just try it. Just, okay, that's just how you feel. That's fine. Try to, go for a run, do a bunch of push-ups, try to eat well. And if you do all those things and you still feel bad, okay, yeah, like then maybe seek the realm of like psychiatric or medical attention. But the most, for the majority of people, just kind of like, I don't feel that well, let me take the easy way. Whereas if they can incorporate some basic fundamental things, it's like, not only will the problem go away, but their life will be enhanced or the problem lessened, whatever. It's like, yeah, man, it's these fundamental things, dude, really get away from us. And they're just looked at like, yeah, okay. And it's like, I mean, I can ramble on forever about how much just exercise, sleep, proper water intake, food, you put those on the table and then you kind of structure your day. And it's like, dude, you feel like you're walking on air all day, man. It's like, it's pretty crazy. And then, again, you start to kind of like structure the social stuff. And it's just like this weekend, me and Butterly and Spud went out, took a run in like we went out to like Pennypack Park and ran. Dude, it's just amazing. It's just like this, the most simple things. And there was stuff that, again, before I was doing this, I would have been like, oh, it's Saturday, let me just try to bang a little more workout. And it's just like, dude, it's just counterintuitive. Just let all that stuff go, reassess, get back. And, it's there. You're just there to take it on. You're in a better state to take it on. It's, I'm just pumped, man. I'm just pumped to be here every Monday, man. I just, I hate to ramble. It's just
same, brother.
Excited, man. I'm just pumped up. That's all that matters.
I it's the lack of goatee. You're now more aerodynamic. More goatee. You're able to like just like
My face can move faster.
No, but dude, that's what the scorecard is. Like that's why you and I developed the scorecard. Is that like the way that I think about it is if my scorecard is complete shit, I have not earned the right to be sad because there's something fundamentally off, if that makes sense. And I say that with love. I'm speaking for myself. It's like if I'm a little sad or like mopey or whatever, it's like when I look at my scorecard, it's like, oh, I haven't earned the right to be sad or mopey because I didn't get the proper amount of sleep for the last 4 or 5 nights. That's not a software issue. That's a hardware issue. Like there's something off with my hardware. I'm just not giving my body what it needs. So I'm going to delay my sadness or my pity party until I've actually earned the right. But the paradoxical thing for me is that when I nail my scorecard, I'm doing all of the fundamentals correctly. I no longer have a pity party. It's the action that took me out of that sadness. So that's why I think it's so important to like get our scorecards done. Because when you look at it visually, and Matt and I build it so that it's sort of like a heat map. Like when you look at your full week of scorecard, if you see a whole bunch of red, that just means you don't have to beat yourself up for it, but that just means that you haven't put the proper amount of action into the fundamentals for that week. And that's okay. That is completely okay. That's why we call it's a practice. It's just like yoga. You're just practicing it. But at least when you see the input that you put in all week, you can tell yourself, oh, of course I feel sad. I just didn't do the work. Okay, so if I want to feel unsad, right, I'm just going to do the work next time, and I can start with it right now. So that's why it's so important. I can only speak for myself. I know that when my fundamentals are off, man, the rest of my life is complete shit. Like it just is. If I haven't gotten amount of sleep, if I'm not taking my water, or if I haven't been doing my exercising, or if I haven't been journaling, or if I haven't been meditating, like my worldview is not good if I'm not doing those fundamentals.
Yeah, man. And it also like I'd catch myself doing stuff where it's like, I got all this stuff I want to do, and to the point where I'll just trash myself in my own body where it's like, well, I won't get sleep. I won't eat right. I won't do this. I won't do that. And like, you're trying to do all of these things, and it's like eventually it's like trying to do like NASCAR in like a car you've just never changed the oil in. It's like, well, dude, you can't do NASCAR, bro. Like you got to change the oil, got to change the tires. Like, well, I don't have time to do that. It's like, well, your fucking tires are going to explode while you try to drive. So it's like, dude, that's something I constantly have to remind myself of. It's like, dude, take care of yourself. And I think a lot of that is self-worth stuff. It's like if you don't have a sense of self-worth, you will just abuse yourself into oblivion. And then if you're not aware of the fact that like, again, I really like this fucking Academy of Ideas video, man, where they talk about the externals and it's, again, you want to talk megamind stuff. I've had a lot of people hit me up about stoicism. Like, dude, have you ever looked into it? And I'm like, yeah, I've looked into it. It's all right. It's, it's kind of cool. But it just keeps popping back up on my radar. I think like Seneca and a bunch of other Greek writers. There's the idea of the externals, and again, it loops in right with logotherapy, where it's like there's a ton of stuff that's what do people think about you? That's an external. What do how much money do you have? Somewhat of an external in terms of like what you were born into, blah blah blah. These things are malleable to a sense, but to another sense they can be kind of totally out of control. But the only thing we have is our ability to make decisions, and how we make decisions, like how we decide to interpret our interaction with the externals, really is what gives people their peace of mind, not the acquisition of these external things themselves. Because then, say like, I need a lot of money, you make a lot of money and you go, oh, I don't want anyone to take my money. You're still anxious. It's shifted. Whereas if like, say in the example in the video was like the one guy, all his ships with like all of his fortunes just sank, and they were just like, dude, like this sucks. And he was just like, I got a good chance now to be, to see how I really stack up with, with nothing. He's like, I'm interpreting this like calamity as a personal challenge. And he's like, that just pumps me up to interpret it this way. And that's like, I fucking love that shit, dude. Like the one guy, I mean, this is, obviously it's way back in ancient Greek times, but the one guy, his slave runs away, and they were like, dude, like your fucking slave ran away. That sucks, dude. Having slaves is awesome. And he was just like, well, he's like, what would I be if I couldn't live without a slave? He's like, so he's basically, the idea is that whatever external thing you're attached to, you become slave to that thing. If you're worried about what people think, then you have, 6.8 billion masters walking around the world. And, dude, I mean, again, if you're overly worried about money, again, try to make it, try to build wealth. But if it's like the end all be all, then like, you have a million, anyone who holds money is your master, and, blah, blah, blah. If you're seeking power, obviously it goes on and on and on. And it's like, the idea is these things, you can work within these areas. You don't have to like shrug the world off, but it's always be conscious of the way you're interpreting let's say, interaction with these external forces that aren't typically inside your control, but you can control how you interpret like the way the dice is cast in your way. So I was like, that was pumping me up this morning, man.
Dude, this is again whole Megamind thing, man. I was literally just thinking about this topic. It has been a constant topic actually for me over the last several weeks, because dealing with relationship issues and et cetera. And Matt, maybe you can help me kind of think through this, but what I have noticed is there's a perceived stimulus, like something has happened, and then, I'm sorry. So there's the stimulus, and then there's the perception of that stimulus, and then there is the reaction to that perception of the stimulus. Does that make sense? So I see it kind of like
Stimulus.
Yep.
So I want to make sure I totally have this. So there's a thing that happens. There's a stimulus. There's the reaction was next.
Well, so there's a stimulus, then there's the perception of that stimulus.
Gotcha.
And then there's the reaction to that perception of the stimulus. So the way that I see it is, because I'm an Excel nerd, I see everything in like Excel graphs. Like essentially let's say there's 3 balls, right? And the first ball to the very left is the stimulus. And let's just say that's an inch in diameter. And then there's an arrow pointing to the next ball, which is the perception of the stimulus, and that's also an inch in diameter. And then there's an arrow pointing to the third and final ball, which is the reaction, which is also an inch in diameter. So all 3 balls are equal in size, but they move left to right, and the next ball is contingent on the prior ball.
Gotcha.
Now, what I have noticed,
as you were saying that, sorry, I was drawing that.
Oh, nice.
You saying that.
See, dude, it's right, Megamind. So where I have noticed is where life can get really chaotic if any one of those balls are not appropriately sized in that cohort, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So in relationships, right? So for instance, like let's just say the stimulus is, my girlfriend didn't call me back. Like that's the fact. Now the stimulus should be the fact, not the story, not an elaboration, not an embellishment of the fact. It should be the fact. Here is what happened. Girlfriend did not call me back. Now, what humans do is we get really funky. So that stimulus is pretty small. It's an inch in diameter. Okay, she didn't call me back. Well, there's a whole host of reasons that couldn't call me back. Maybe the call didn't go through. Maybe all this other stuff. But if my perception, which is the next ball, is, oh my God, she's with another guy. I can't believe that and then I developed this whole story. Well, now my perception of that stimulus is now, let's say, 10 times the size. It's now 10 inches in diameter rather than 1 inch. Well, I'm choosing, and it sounds like, Matt, like what you're saying, is that we have control over that perception if you practice like more of a stoicism type of mindset. Now, that's not even necessarily the worst part. The worst part is, yes, you embellished and exaggerated your perception of the actual reality. Well, then the third and final ball is your reaction. Well, your reaction is going to be somewhat commensurate with your perception. So if I'm thinking that she's off with some other guy because she didn't return my phone call or she didn't pick up my phone call, well, now my reaction is going to be, let's say, 2 times the size of that, right? Because I'm choosing to think of the worst case scenario. And that's where you get into attachment styles and all that kind of stuff. So it's like where I think a lot of work can be done for me and for a whole bunch of other men is yes, your reactions, but the prerequisite to your reactions is your perception of what you're reacting to. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like meditation helps and builds a space between stimulus and response, or perceived stimulus and response. But if your perceived stimulus is enormous, it's like good luck trying to create a good enough response that's not going to turn your life into utter chaos. Does that make sense?
No, I understand what you're saying. So the idea is, so this is what I'm trying to figure out as you say that, because it just kind of brings a question to me. So it's like there's the external, let's call the stimulus or the externals or whatever. These are the things that are just happening around us. There's just there's a cat walking outside. There's a guy screaming, whatever. Yep. I have no control. I can try to chase them around, and but then I'm just a person out with a cat and a guy screaming. We're just some 3 weird people just moving around. Then there's obviously there's a reaction, but what I'm thinking about is and kind of this is what it's telling me is like there's the space of perception, and like within the space of perception, if we're not conscious of it, it can just go boom and just link us into like automatic patterns of thinking, and that are based on prior experiences or just like kind of like deeply held beliefs that could be kind of what they call in cognitive behavioral therapy like thought distortions that it go unchecked and then just send us into patterns of behavior that then cost us. And it's like, yeah, and I do think meditation allows, I think like you're saying, deepens our space of perception where we're not running on our automatic filters, but just being mindful and aware of like what's actually occurring rather than our automatic interpretation that we react on.
Yes. And so I'm not completely distracted by this. Can I pee real quick?
Dude, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
Please pee. You have to bring your phone in with you while you pee though. No, I'm kidding. But no,
you guys might actually hear it because I don't know.
No, you guys,
I'll be right back.
Please, man. Yeah, you can't hold in a pee like that. But yeah, this is something I could, dude, the idea of, so you have, let's take this chain of events. And I like the relationship one because I think they're ones that kind of really tug on our, let's say, our own personal strings in ways that can kind of like just blow right past our consciousness. So, take the girlfriend example, right? Your girlfriend gets a text message or doesn't respond to your call. If that's the case, and then, so that happens, there's a perception, and let's deepen the perception. Let's put a little link between the action, there's us seeing it and experiencing it, and then that's linked into our biology, depending on our, let's say, belief systems and personal constitution. So, and what I say is, if we, are running on the belief system that, girls are cheaters and whores across the board, then yeah, like we're going to see that, a text message from a man or someone is going to send us into the tizzy as if we're already experiencing, some form of betrayal, which again, it's like, can be tough to interact with. So yeah, I mean, I'd be curious too to see if people have any like encountered this at all, or if they have any kind of like ways that they deal with this, or they just absolutely taken by storm. So Wes, what I was saying was basically, so there's within the perception realm.
I heard you.
Okay.
I had you in my ear when we were
that's
peeing.
fucking that's next level, dude. Basically, Secret Service. The what do you think of it? Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the idea in terms of what I was just saying? How there's almost another thing too, where it's like, how is our perception jacked into our biology, and like how can we kind of slow that signal of like perception to feeling states? Because I think the feeling states are something I'm really, really exploring right now, because it's like they don't get a lot of play. And it's like, dude, you can say it, like, just like we were saying before, like you can think all day, but if you act, like almost like doing an action can save you 1,000 thoughts, where it's like, and if you can kind of do the thing with like, get right into the feeling states rather than thinking, which I've talked about before, it's like, it works tremendously well to just check in with your feeling states and like just physically describe what's going on rather than mentally trying to explain why they're occurring with like just random thoughts about what's occurring, if that makes sense. Because the reality of the situation is you're in a chair feeling, let's say, like rage, jealousy, or suspicion. But if you just go in the thought realm, it's like, I think she's up to something, which are two very, very different things.
Yes. Yeah. So Matt, and this is where I think you and I can dance together pretty well, is because you've got the psychology training and I have the finance training. So I see psychology every single day played out in math.
Yeah.
Like quite literally. So here's a couple things. So you've got the stimulus, which is the thing that actually happened, and then you've got the perception of that stimulus, and then you have your reaction or response to that perception. So the first thing is to recognize, number one, that humans are terrible, like literally, statistically, I see this every single day, are literally terrible at self-reporting. We are unbelievably terrible at it. I promise you this. Like human bias is insane. This is why
self-reporting. I'm sorry, what's self-reporting exactly?
Oh, sure. I mean, just go and pick a random friend and say like, "Hey, how's your nutrition?" They'll say like, "Oh, it's
gotcha.
Pretty good." It's like, really? It's pretty fucking good, right? Like, how is that possible, right? I just saw you eat like a Klondike bar. Like, what do you like? In fact, I've never even seen you eat anything good. I'm not you, Matt, but like,
absolutely
the person that you're talking to. So we are absolutely terrible at self-reporting. Now, there's a reason why, and I think it's so important to understand the biological reason as to why. For instance, number one, we are very social creatures. Like John Gottman's research has shown that human beings have a negativity bias of 5 to 1, meaning that just to break even, right, or to be neutral, have an equilibrium of positive to negative, right? Like you have to, for every one negative thing that happens on average, you need 5 positive things to happen just to be a net neutral. Right out of the gate, that's an unequal, that's an asymmetrical distribution that we have to get over. This is one of the main reasons why we are terrible self-reporters. So how that plays into this is your perception of terrible self-reporting and terrible historical data collection in your mind will overplay certain perceptions, especially the negative ones. So, for instance, if your girlfriend didn't respond back to you or your wife didn't respond back to you right away, she didn't pick up the phone, we are going to go and self-select all of the worst case scenarios that have happened to us in our past because of that 5 to 1 negativity bias. Automatically, those are the ones that bubble up in the surface. There is a reason. There is a reason why we think like this. So, for instance, because this will help everybody kind of connect the dots. From an evolutionary perspective, if you were to go and walk outside at late at night and you saw something curved on the ground that was, that you thought was moving, well, that could be a stick or it could be a snake, right? Right. The stick might have been blowing in the wind, or maybe your mind. So there is a tremendous advantage for you not thinking about that and for you just reacting real quick, because it could be a snake, but it also could be a stick. Well, the snake could kill you. So you need to not think about it and get it away, run away from it. That's the underlying, in my opinion, hardware of what we have been built for. So now we bring that, though, to the real life, like to current day life. There are so many perceived snakes out there where we run away instantly and never take a step back to analyze it. Right. But a lot of things, like with the wife, right? If she didn't call you back right away, or she didn't pick up, like that needs to go back and to be analyzed. Okay, what are the potentials? And this is why I like probabilities and numbers. This is what helps me. Okay, literally forcing myself to go through and think about, okay, why didn't my girlfriend pick up the phone? Okay, if Matt were looking at this situation, so like I now neutralize the situation. If Matt were looking at this and saying, okay, well, here's the probabilities of things it could be. It could be these 5 things. And here, Wes, given your history, your actual history as best as you can define it, here's the actual history. Because by the way, Matt, like, yes, one of those scenarios could be that she's out cheating on me. 100%. Right? But if that's not properly calibrated in the right probability, then I'm going to have a distortion. Right? So the goal is to get as accurate as possible. Then from there, and as accurate as possible, as if a good friend was looking after you, like answering it from that perspective. Now, what allows me to then do that, so once you've done that, right? Okay, it's these 5 things. There's a 95% chance or 99% chance it's not the worst case scenario. But if I didn't give myself the chance to go through that cerebral, exercise, I would have thought it was the opposite. It's a 99% chance she's cheating on me right now. Now, to answer Ray's question in the comments, that's the difference between reacting and responding. You respond, in my opinion, when you create space between the perceived stimulus and your action thereafter. It's just a reaction if you do it immediately. It's a response if you've taken a step back, you've analyzed the situation and say, okay, here's what is most likely the reality, and I might have to respond in a harsh way if a guy is trying to fight me, or whatever it is. Some responses require a high level of action, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Some of them don't. Most of them don't. And that, in my opinion, Matt, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. That's the difference between responding appropriately and reacting or overreacting to a perceived stimulus. But I think the main piece there is adjusting your perception to as close to reality and something that's workable for you.
Dude, no, I mean, 100%. It's crazy how much of what you're saying kind of elbows up against all of the ACT stuff, which is pretty similar. It's like, we've evolved to deal with physical threats and stimuli. But now that we're not out, with like beetles and snakes all around us and spiders that, We have that same kind of approach to external problems, but now that we're dealing with more kind of abstract things, we take a problem solving approach that is more built for external things. But when we do them, it's like, I always think of it this way. So it's like, say again, we talked about the snake. There's a physical snake. You don't even need to think. You don't even need to pre-plan for what you're going to do. Your body will just, respond. You'll run away. You'll, if you have a stick for some reason, you'll try to like hit it or something. So, you don't even have to think about that. Like, you'll respond, your body will take over, do its thing. Unfortunately, most of our problems now would be kind of non-physical. So the solution for I always imagine it like a mirror. Like, if you look in a mirror, right is left and left is right. So when you're dealing with a problem that's kind of internal, all of the rules reverse. Like, if for physical problem, run away from, destroy, avoid. Physical problem, go right into it and actually feel. Like, if it's a real snake, if it's a fear of a snake, I talk about this in psych. No, it's like you want to kind of get into that, whereas it's a real snake, you want to get away from that. So it's like really it's that one thing that really helps me is like, is this a biological threat? No. Okay. Well, let me just release tension from my body. Again, this is where it's like, forget about the thoughts you'll deal with. You don't want to deal with thoughts while your body's all tense and frustrated. So first deal with the feeling first, like first and foremost, address the physical feeling, release any tension. Once you go, okay, I'm be patient with yourself. You don't have to be hard on yourself. It's like, okay, all right, this isn't a physical threat. I'm dealing with a perceived scenario, and this obviously takes a ton of time, personal training, meditation. But you can start working on this, and I think it works fantastic. Where it's like, okay, let me just relieve tension. It's like, all right, now that I'm physically not tense and just like pumping more of those fucking adrenaline chemicals because I'm like feeling that way. Now let me try to tackle the situation. One thing I'm working on personally is waiting till I'm physically relaxed until I speak, because it's like a lot of times I just launch into talking while I'm kind of like adrenalized and like blah, blah, blah. So I've been trying to like really take my time, especially during relationship stuff where we're arguing. If I feel a certain way, I just right away communicate, like, here's what I'm feeling. Let me sort this out real quick, and then we'll get back to like the words and stuff. Because if I'm operating out of this like tense feeling state that we typically don't notice we're in, that's why you react. You go, why the fuck did I do that? It's like, because you were like biologically, you're on the verge of life and death for whatever reason. So it really is. It's like you were saying, it's like, taking the stimulus in, really trying to delineate, again, like you were saying, Wes, like, what are the chances that I saw this one thing and I just connected like 20,000 dots intuitively and I'm actually right with what's going on? I actually keep track of this stuff. I'm wrong a lot. Like, I'm wrong a really good, and I always feel, especially the one around like non-trust stuff in relationships, when you get those wrong, or you start going like, who's that? And you do that kind of line of like detective questioning. First of all, I always feel disgusting after. I'm always like, Jesus Christ, come on, man. But I've been historically wrong, I think, almost every single time. And then if there is some sort of thing where it's like, I don't know how I feel about that relationship you're having, blah, 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 even if it's just through text, it's like, this is the conclusion. Again, I'm not espousing this for everybody, but for the conclusion I've reached is, human beings, whether they're in relationships or not, are free agents in terms of they make their own decisions. So it's like, if you have, if you're, like you were saying, Wes, if you're suspicious of your romantic partners, that's either stuff you're just carrying from past experiences, or like you are being cheated on, and you've had red flags alerted. Either way, I think erring on the side of just being like, I'm going to be as good as I can possibly be. And it's like, it's up. If you choose freely to absolutely like to break my heart and cheat on me, that's up to you. But I'm not going to live in a constant, negative state of alert looking for those little signs. Because again, if you're looking for those signs, they will pop up and they might be wrong and they might tank your relationship. So it's like, personally, I've gained a great benefit by just focusing on the positive. If there's things that pop up, I try to let them go. And if they do bother me, I'll just bring them up and, as honestly as I can, say like, hey, this might just be a me thing, but like, here's what I'm picking up on. A lot of times they'll be like, oh no, it's this. And you're like, fuck,
Yep. No, I completely agree. I think minimizing the perception and getting as close to reality as possible. And it's never going to be perfect. Yeah. We're always going to have some sort of distortion. But if you are 5 standard deviations away from reality, that's a problem, right? There's a major problem there, because then your reactions are going to be very, very, very off base. But yeah, Matt, I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, and this is where it comes back to, focus every single day on creating value for yourself and creating value for others. over time, you will start to really recognize your true self-worth and value because your actions are dictating that. So then that gives you the trump card, right? Eventually, and slash maybe even now, right? If you can start to get your head right around this, that gives you the trump card of like, okay, there's a 1% probability that she's cheating on me. And that's a very real thing, right? That could certainly
Sure.
be the case, but I've identified it as 1% probability. Okay, great. Well, if that were to be the case, I'll be fine.
Yes.
Right? Like I'll be fine. Like because I have focused on building up myself over time, I'm marketable in this particular domain, I will be fine. That is so much better than saying, oh, it's a 99% probability. And now I'm going to do all these things. Like you're saying, man, I'm going to do the detective thing. I'm going to try to play gotcha. I'm going to do all that stuff. And
Yep.
now it's taking away from my life and my sanity. And that's not good for the relationship. So all of a sudden, going down that road is deteriorating the only thing that's like making this an issue. Like you love this person, etc. So yeah, I completely agree with you, dude.
Yeah, I mean and this is something this is something I've even said to my wife where it's like, I've told her like I have no interest in policing your inner states or desires. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, fucking stop looking at Ryan Gosling like that. What do you think, he's fucking hot? You fucking can't. It's like you can't do that, man. And it's like, and I've really
His abs
been
are weak, bro, by the way, but keep going.
I mean, come on, I'd beat the fuck out of him. Except in that dirt bike movie, he's pretty tough in that dirt bike movie. But yeah, it's like it really, for me personally, and I think it's helpful for everybody to really kind of get into the way you interact with the external things. And I think Wes, like I think you hit it on the head. It's like if you're not just solely focused on, well, not again, I try to be careful in my language. Like if you're not like highly focused on creating value for others and just kind of like, just putting good stuff out and just because I'm of the belief it will kind of enhance your experience, especially if you're not just doing it for people who are just like toxic and will just kind of like take. But if you find people that, they're like, it will help you and, just kind of give them, your time and energy and just try to put good stuff out into the world over the course of time. I think that produces way better results for yourself that kind of just come about naturally. It's not like it's not like a manipulation of everything. It's just you're doing it. Feels good. You're following the stuff that makes you feel good. I think that's just and again, the stuff will happen, you'll be, shit will happen, bad stuff will happen. You'll encounter people who, don't exactly do you that good, but it's still preferable to the excessive, like trying to constantly control externals, control people, trying to align other people's behavior with what we want. It's not experienced well by those other people because nobody wants to be controlled for the most part. And it also just makes it's just an uncomfortable thing for you to do because you're constantly under siege by like, oh, I got to control this, got to control that. Whereas you can just go out and be like, let me just try to be the best I can be, for the reason of creating value rather than trying to selfishly arrange reality in a way that like I'm somehow on top of everything, which is kind of the way where I think, I think that goes down to our, like, this is just a theory, but like our evolution from like our Cambrian period, like when we evolved out of like the shit that was just floating around on the ocean that just ate each other. Mm-hmm. It's like, we obviously have that in us to like want to be kind of like, the top dog, want to be this, that, but it's also, we're also like highly socialized creatures. So it creates this like weird inner tension where we want to be at top. It's like we want to stand out and also belong at the same time. And, you could call it kind of one of the hallmarks of, the human condition, but it's like, if you can just be aware of that and just try to really focus on the, the later parts of our evolution that are like the social parts. And obviously, some nasty motherfuckers will come along and be dickheads and, that's what it is. But, to just try to get out of the control of external events and really get into how do I react and how do I interpret things? Because that's my only thing I can control.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, dude. Living life on offense has always and will always produce better results than living life on defense. That's the way I see it. I mean, it's just the reality. So no, I completely agree, man. So yeah, also, it was awesome chatting through that because I've been thinking about it a lot.
Oh, dude, it's something that like, it's something I've dealt with before myself, and it's stuff that is popped up for me, and it's something that people typically don't try to talk about because they're like, I don't think people. It's like, dude, the romantic paranoia, and it just stems from deeper issues, man. It's like you can say like, oh, this, that, and all this is there. It's like, well, first of all, you can go into the realm of like, well, how'd you guys even link up? Because it always takes two to tango. I never forget that. It always takes two to tango. And it's like, you can either, you're just there's so many options you can take that are productive rather than just like suspiciously monitoring. It's like you can even say like you do start to feel jealous or this and that. That could be a cue to like step your shit up. Like, have you been a fucking slug? Like that could be one way to take it. Or it's like, or are you with someone who has like an impossible void to fill that they're just going to fill with, different people's attention. It's like, I don't know, every situation is different, but it's like, unless you are, on your P's and Q's, then at least if you're doing as good as you can, that's literally all you can do. As stock and corny as that sounds, that's literally everything you do. That's where your inner realm ends at your best. And you can always, you're better, at the better and best. Your best can always become better, but it's like that's where your control over anything ends. And if you try to control things beyond that, it's just going to create you problems. In my opinion, it's just going to cause you problems.
Dude, that was phenomenal way of putting it. What did you say? Your inner realm stops at your best?
Yep.
Is that what you said? That is such a great point. Like, are you doing what you possibly could? And if the answer is yes, everything else is just up to the universe. It's just up to however it plays out, and being fine with that.
And it's, again, it's one of those things that's always changing. Like I do like, and I don't have a great understanding of Taoism, but it's kind of, a lot of these things kind of like link up when more you read about them, but it's like, there's just this stuff outside your control. It's large, it's mysterious. You'll never understand it. You can interact with it and you can kind of go with the flow of it, or you can take a thing that's like so large and complicated you can't even put it into words and then try to control that. It's crazy. It's like, why would you do that? It's insane. But this is how we're evolved to be, because we came about by physically manipulating our environment. But now that that stuff extends to like the global currency market, and it's like, good luck trying to do that, unless you have like billions and trillions of dollars. But it's like, good luck trying to control and call how that's going to play out. Or you can just do the fundamental stuff to ensure that you're comfortable, and you can build from there rather than trying to I think we've all been there, try to like buy our $200 worth of Bitcoin and be like, this is just the beginning, dude. I'm about to blow up. And just all right, cool. So it's like, yeah, man, it's, that is kind of a thing that I've been really working on, is like, it was nice to talk it out, to put it in those words of just really, it's like, am I doing my best? You do your best. And then there's the stuff outside of your control. And then, okay, the next thing you can do, and the final thing is, how can I interact with that stuff? That's like my final thing I can do that's outside of my control in a way that doesn't like completely destroy me or create a bunch of toxic relationships around myself. And it's like, dude, I struggle with that every day.
100%.
I can go upstairs and
and that's
everyone's life hell upstairs. I can go upstairs if I go, like, I don't like how that panned out. I can choose to go upstairs and make everyone's life hell upstairs because I don't feel good, or I can go like, I'm just feeling off. And it's like, dude, it's a big thing to do and work on it. I think it's one of the main things. Sorry, Wes, what were you saying?
No, I think you're spot on. You're 100% spot on, man. That was super well said.
Thank you, bro. It's the shaven face.
Yeah,
the goatee just bogs me down.
No, dude, you're dangerous now. You're fucking dangerous. I want to head into, if it's okay, number one, giving a few shout outs. And then number two, if we could head into calling our shots for the week. So, and now, guys, this is the time to share your goals for the week, etc. In the comments. I'm going to apologize. So the Discord is just fucking phenomenal. Like, seeing these guys, it's honestly, every time I look at it, I get motivated.
Yeah.
I believe there was somebody in there, and guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was at MFG who created a visual of the Rhomas men's team density diet bowl. So please, if I'm wrong on there, if any of you guys have seen it, I want to make sure I do this correctly. Okay, so it's Mike.
Yeah.
Dude,
MFG
Mike, that was, dude, honestly, like, I saw, like, honestly, kind of make me as super corny moment, but like made me tear up a little. It was like, hell yeah, man. Like, that was fucking awesome. Like, he nailed it. So he gave a visual, man. I'm not sure if you saw it, but he gave a visual of our veggie bowls that were, that I'm telling the guys to eat if they want to lose weight and optimize. Like, it's like what I'm doing right now. So he gave an awesome fucking graphic to it, just like unbelievable. And on a one pager just showed exactly like what I try to communicate to people of what to eat, but it takes me like 14 hours to do it. He showed it in one page. So that was fucking amazing. The only thing that I would add in there is, if anybody's looking at that visual, just add in a bit of dark leafy greens. And that's just a thing to add on top of there too. But MFG's fucking visual, man, that was like it's a one-page infographic. And so huge thanks to him. Like, that's awesome. That's an awesome, super big value add to the men. So thank you, buddy.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, MFG, I've talked to him on Instagram before. He actually gave me the recommendation for the Letting Go book that I talked about. So MFG's out here, dude, making major moves. But yeah, dude, and there's someone also asked about pinning stuff to the top in Discord. And whoever wants to do that, let me know, and I'll just make you moderator so you can do that, because I lack the prowess. I mean, I could get it, but that would be cool if people could just do that shit and pin that kind of stuff. Like
Matt, if you wouldn't mind giving that to me, because I would like to do that too.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, so we'll do that. So what is the week? What's going on this week? What are you calling, bro?
Okay, so for me, a couple things. Number one, I want to have my on the for my investment company. My partner and I, we have to put together a book. Like, I want it to be like a binder. Like, I want to be like Bill Belichick for finance. I don't really watch football, but from my understanding, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches who's ever lived. But like, I want to see my clients' progress every single week. Like, I want to blow my competitors out of the water. So I'm putting together a whole plan for that. So I want to carry these people around with me and saying, okay, like, for instance, like, where's Matt at? Like, how much, blah, 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 like exactly where it's at. Like, we are trying to win a championship. I want to treat my craft like that. And then also, like, that will give me, more emotional commitment, and saying like, hey, I might call you up and say, hey, like, dude, like, here's where we're at. Like, if you want to get to the championship, here's what we need to fucking do. Yeah. M. Gunther says cutting my sleeves off hoodies. That's literally exactly what I was thinking about. Like, one of the things that drives me crazy about finance is like having to wear like suit and tie. It's like, that's all bullshit. Like, yeah, I want to show up with a pair of like shorts and cut off sweatshirts. Like, we're gonna get some fucking work done here. Like, dude, awesome. No marketing, no BS. Like, let's get it fucking done. So I'm building up that book right now. Other thing, because ASB is just crushing me at dance right now. Like, I want to figure out, like, if I'm putting a dance floor in my garage or setting up like a little thing in my living room. So I want to make some progress there. So it'll give me the space to practice dance. Because all the dance stuff out here in California is shut down. But I'm doing a lot of research for dance. So I want to do that, and then set up, get more committed to systematizing everything with Rhomas, like getting up when we do this and the podcast, I want to just make it more smooth. And I finally got my computer in. I got a beefy computer to help do all that, but then it was glitchy. So I had to send it back to Microsoft. They just sent it back to me on Saturday. So like, I want to make progress there of systematizing more Rhomas stuff. And then also, just so you guys know, just throwing it out there, we did a whole bunch of interviews and a whole bunch of weight loss interview stuff, like all that stuff. I need to get that put up on our YouTube channel and our podcast channel. So those are the 4 or 5 things that I'm calling my shots, and I'd like some accountability on Friday. If you can, Matt, ask me about it.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. It's funny. I know it wasn't really a dream. I woke up this morning. It was kind of like Maya was making noise through the monitor, and I was awake. And like, one of the first thoughts I thought of, I was like, damn. I was like, Wes is, once you double what you're doing now for the 1 billion under management, once you get to 500 million, I'm like, he's like you're already halfway there. That's a pretty realizable goal. I was laying there in the morning just being like, once he hits the middle mark, I feel like it'll get easier and easier and more. And I was like, fucking sick. I think he's going to hit it pretty soon. So I was thinking of you this morning. Man. I was thinking of the 1B AUM. I was like, he could do it. So here, let me bust my thing out. It was like the first thing I thought of this morning, which is very funny. I didn't think about it till now.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate letting me know that.
Yeah, man. So today, so for the week, I have some scheduling stuff. Obviously, that's not, you don't need to know that. That's boring. But yeah, so part of it is kind of schedule certain things. One of the big ones is record a PsychNol module for the logo therapy. So like basically do the first module, edit it, get it done, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to also write 3 different entries in the book we're working on, Wes. Make some more of those little bumper edits for a new Stoner Dads episode whenever we do it. I got to get a TV for the studio for Matt and Shane's. Finish putting on, doing my stuff for my inspiration board that I hung. And for my workouts, I want to do 80 pull-ups this week, 800 push-ups, run 2 miles, do 800 bodyweight squats, and spend 20 minutes punching the bag. collectively, and then also clean up my basement. I got it started, and I have to take it home now because we had some shelves put in this weekend. Also, I want to show this is something that's helped me, so maybe this will be helpful for people before we go. I'm going to show something I've been doing for the way I've been kind of organizing my week, which is very simple and it's been kind of working pretty well. And let me just show you this real quick, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, please.
So let me see if I can pull this thing up. Oh, that's my logotherapy stuff. Hold on one second. Let me pull this down. There we go. No, that's that again. God damn it. I'm sorry. There it is. So this is my journal. So I wake up and write my journal stuff. And then for Monday, I do the menu. Like I said, like this is all the stuff I want to get. This would be a good week if I got this done. Once I come up with that for the day, I say, all right, so that's the week. Today, here's the pieces I'll pull out of this, which, start the logotherapy model, schedule the episode, blah, 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 blah. And there's, so that's been a helpful thing for me. And then every day I copy and paste this menu for the week below my journal entry and then come up with my things to do for the day. So that's been something very simple.
Hell yeah.
But it kind of keeps my stuff centralized. And then I obviously supplement that with the scorecard. So.
Hell yeah. Easy. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, looking forward to catching up with you on Friday.
Yeah, man.
Two other things. Number one, just a big shout out to Francisco. He's crushing it. I think he's been hitting the treadmill workout. So just want to throw a quick shout out to him. Keep that shit up. And then number two, want to throw this out there. I'm going to do, if we can pull it off, we have the scorecard practice team, which we do a light session of yoga, like quick little 10 minutes, like that satisfies the body part, the body part of the scorecard. But I've been tossing around setting up my garage like a gym and then doing a live Rhomas men's team, like actual workout every day, Monday through Friday. Yeah. So pull-ups, push-ups, bench press, like all that kind of stuff. If people are interested. So I just need to figure out the logistics, and it'd be same deal. Like, same exact thing, like just doing it as a fucking team, cranking it out, because I think we're ready for that next level. But give me about a week to try to like work out the kinks, and we're gonna go in that direction.
Damn, that'd be fucking awesome. That pumps me up.
So just letting everybody know.
All right, man. Cool. Hell yeah.
All right, dude.
All right, bro.
Great
Wes,
seeing you, brother.
Always a pleasure, dude. Later
Same to you guys.